Story 1. A minor thing, I pick up some litter. I have a few parks nearby, patches of woods with trails. One day I came upon someone's four-person lunch break, just a mess of containers, plastic cutlery, and garbage strewn all over the trail and surrounding flora. With the empty bag they brought it in sitting right there. So I used the bag to collect that trash and all the rest I found while walking back to civilization and a garbage can. Now, every time I go, if I spot a plastic bag, I put it to use, and that happens almost every visit. I just saw the response to this and am blown away. This is the kind of thing that gives me hope. The smallest efforts can make a huge difference if we're all doing it. I believe that. Story 2. I'm an overnight caregiver at a house with 2 disabled residents. Every time I go to work, I bring the staff I'm relieving a hot chocolate. Each week, I buy flowers from the sale bin and put them in a vase on the resident's kitchen table. I've been doing this for the past 2 years. These are small gestures, but they boost morale, and my coworkers always look forward to that cup of hot chocolate at the end of their shift. Thank you for the kind words and support. It's encouraging to hear, and I'm grateful for the encouragement. Thank you to the original poster for starting this thread and to everyone who shared their own ways of making the world a better place. You are all an inspiration to me. Here's to creating positive environments, expressing gratitude through small acts of kindness, and paying it forward whenever possible. Story 3. I sold my company and retired 12 years ago at the age of 45. I have spent the last few years working at an elementary school, helping children with math and science. Young children need more mentors. If you have time and energy, working at a school is a lot of fun. Story 4. I advocate for patients and healthcare providers to overturn denials from health insurance companies and ensure that hospitals receive payment. Story 5. Honestly, I try not to make things worse. I aim to be kind to others, clean up after myself, participate in voting, and respect my own privacy. It's not revolutionary, but it makes a difference. Story 6. I create solutions that enhance accessibility for individuals with disabilities, empowering them to gain employment and independence. Story 7. I work with individuals experiencing homelessness to help them obtain benefits, identification documents, treatment, and eventually housing. I also garden. Story 8. I am kind to people without any reason. I compliment others randomly. I use polite expressions and offer assistance when necessary. These are small gestures. Story 9. Pick up cigarette butts. I was a smoker for years and was inconsiderate in my younger years, always tossing them out of cars and in secluded places. I make an effort now to spend time picking them up. Story 10. Spay and neuter all the neighborhood strays I can catch. Vote in every election. Plant pollinator gardens. Avoid using insecticides or herbicides. Donate to smaller charities that do not receive public attention. Try to minimize my waste in general. Buy local organic produce when possible, and enjoy player versus player gaming. Story 11. I do not automatically kill a bug or insect when I see it. I also move turtles out of the road in the direction they are headed. Story 12. Big and small gestures such as monetary donations to good causes can make a difference. Smile at strangers, hold the door open, compliment others, offer your time and listening ear, and wave in traffic during lane changes. Volunteer at schools and establish a food and clothing pantry at a Title I school. Story 13. Not really impactful, and no one would notice if I didn't do it, but I take pictures and make reviews on Google Maps. Story 14. When I prepare my lunchbox, I also make an extra one with drinks and snacks for homeless people I encounter on my way to work. There is one man I see frequently, and I brought him some socks yesterday. He was so happy. I wish I could do more. Story 15. I retired from the corporate world and promptly started volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. So far, I have completed 5 houses and am working on the 6th, while the chapter has built more than 80. I get to work with the homeowners and their friends and family. It is much more rewarding than endless spreadsheets. I also find niche charities to support. I donate to Kiva, which uses donations to make loans to people to improve their families' lives. For example, they might buy supplies for a store or purchase livestock to sell milk or eggs. The recipients then repay the loan over time, and I receive updates on how their projects are progressing. Otherwise, I try not to be difficult and make others' lives harder just because I can be upset when things don't go exactly right. Story 16. My job involves identifying sustainability opportunities in industrial plants. I typically discover savings of 500,000 gallons of water per day. Story 17. Not really the world, but I make sure to keep an abundance of snacks, drinks, and popsicles on hand at all times and keep the sprinkler running throughout the summer. I have 5 kids and we are not in a very affluent neighborhood. So we are the house all the other kids come to for some motherly care and safe fun. It's not much, but I hope it makes their lives a little brighter. Story 18. As a divorced father of 3, I considered moving to a different part of the country for a fresh start at the time of my divorce. However, that would mean I would only see my children during holidays, and another man would become their stepfather. I refused to let that happen. It is important to stay present in your children's lives and to be an incredible dad, even when it is challenging. Story 19. I work full-time as a crisis counselor. Most of my days are spent talking to individuals in crisis and creating safety plans. Story 20. Insects. I haven't squished one since I was very young. I will always help that tired little bee with sugar water, help that spider go outside, or take that worm off the pavement and put him in the soil. It's not much, but I hope I have made little differences here and there. Story 21. I am a foster parent. Right now, I am sitting with 2 12-year-olds watching a movie they wanted to see. Story 22. It is incredible how exercising patience and kindness yields significant rewards. Individuals in the service industry often encounter difficult customers, so they tend to go out of their way to assist those who are friendly and respectful. Story 23. A small thing I try to do is find things to compliment people on. It's not hard once you look. Tell them their shirt is nice or their hair looks pretty, something genuine. If you're not sure what to say, just mention that it suits them. Some people really need a pick-me-up, even if they don't show it. Don't be afraid to say something nice. Even if it comes out a little awkward sometimes, they will still appreciate it. Story 24. I help homeless veterans and their families find affordable housing, support those at risk of eviction to remain in their homes, and provide basic housing essentials such as beds and linens. I can cover up to 9 months of rent and utilities. Additionally, I volunteer on the crisis hotline. Story 25. It's likely no one will read this, but I feel like expressing myself today. I've spent the past 2 years on a suicide help forum, doing my best to listen to others and help them feel a little less alone than I did during my worst times. I got banned last week, so I think I will volunteer for a suicide hotline now. Story 26. I am kind, polite, and respectful to all the unknown people in the streets. I do what needs to be done. I return the shopping cart to its original place when I finish. I throw garbage in the trash bin even if it is not my trash. I raise my children to do the same. Story 27. I am a community nurse. I encourage and promote healthy habits to my patients. I address health issues and mobilize community services for social issues such as lack of resources and care needs. I also assist in cases involving mental health problems or abuse situations. I cannot change the world, but I can help my surroundings. Story 28. Automatically donate to 6 charities each month. Treat people well. Pay my employees above market rates. Provide generous tips. Live by the philosophy that I do not care what others do as long as they are not hurting anyone else. Story 29. Heal. This world traumatizes us all in one way or another. Hurt people hurt others. Healed people help others. It's a cliché, but it is painfully true. Story 30. I express please and thank you as a common courtesy. I shovel my neighbor's driveway in winter, pick up trash in and around my neighborhood, and stay out of other people's business. Story 31. I am kind to everyone without expecting anything in return. When people view kindness as a transaction, it feels insincere. Therefore, I choose to act kindly and brighten someone's day, simply to help them feel good about themselves. Life is too short to be negative. Story 32. Hold the door open for others. Even if they are ungrateful or do not thank me afterward, I believe it is the right thing to do. Story 33. Donate to effective charities now that I'm able to. I love knowing that I can make a difference in people's lives. It's the biggest ego boost ever. And I don't pass gas in elevators most of the time. Story 34. My job involves visiting the homes of mostly elderly individuals. The number of people who have recently lost their husband or wife is truly heartbreaking. I give them time and space to talk about their lives and ask about their partners or lost loved ones. The relief they feel at being allowed to simply be sad and not be okay for a moment is palpable. It makes my calls last longer, but it's worth it. There's a neighborhood stray named Waffles who seems to own the complex we live in. I have set up a small sheltered area with food and water, including a warm kitty bed inside a tarped-off corner of my patio. I worry about them when we experience snow, rain, and freezing cold nights. We must take care of each other. If it is to be, it is up to me. Story 35. I pick up the soda six-pack rings and cut them up. This is likely a habit from elementary school days when it was instilled in me that we need to save the turtles. Story 36. Just be a nice person. Ask people how they are doing, smile, and offer help when you can. You do not have to be a crusader for good in the world. We can only control ourselves. As long as we all maintain a positive attitude, smile often, and help when it is needed, that alone will change the world for the better. No one person can improve the entire world, but you can always improve yourself. If we all do that, the world gets better. Story 37. I smile at people whenever I pass them on foot. I am friendly to those who assist me, such as cashiers and servers. Story 38. I joke with angry and rude cashiers to make them laugh and help reduce their frustration, so they won't ruin the day for many people they encounter. You are all welcome. Story 39. Teach my children about kindness, understanding, and respecting differences. We do not have to love everyone or agree on everything, but we should be kind to others and respect their beliefs and opinions. Story 40. I encourage people and express my belief in them. I make an effort to do this at least once a day. I also offer compliments to others. Story 41. Tax wealthy individuals and invest the funds into education, housing, science, and culture. As I grow older, I increasingly understand that their boundless greed and excess are directly or indirectly responsible for many of the issues in the world. Story 42. I pick up trash when I find it in parking lots or scattered in stores and put it in a trash can. I also give money to people at street corners and intersections when I can. Story 43. I give 5% of my paycheck to charities and have that amount matched by my employer dollar for dollar. I focus on a mix of charities that have an impact on the country and my community. I verify the effectiveness of these charities before donating, and I also diversify my contributions across environmental, educational, and accessibility causes. Story 44. Raise puppies to become future guide dogs for individuals with vision impairment. I also collect trash in the Eastern Sierra. It infuriates me how many people visit pristine natural areas and leave their trash behind. Story 45. I improve my local community by helping homeless individuals find housing, supporting addicts in their recovery, teaching people with special needs how to become self-sufficient, and educating the next generation on how to assist others. Additionally, I participate in animal rescues and volunteer at the food bank. Story 46. I put my shopping cart away. I do not let anyone's politics dictate the tone or substance of my conversations with them. Story 47. I work in a career devoted to helping some of the most marginalized people in my society. The pay is acceptable, but I could have earned significantly more in the private sector and been exposed to less trauma. Story 48. I am generous with my upvotes. Joking aside, it is nice to see your comments and positivity for a change. Story 49. I try to be kind to others and pick up after myself. As a therapist, I do my best to help my clients. While I may not change the world, I believe that people are an important part of it. Story 50. I raise butterflies in my pesticide-free garden, which is full of native perennials and has no grass. I reduce, reuse, and recycle. I do not use paper towels in my home. I cook at home and rarely order takeout. I dry my clothes outside when the weather permits. I try to consider the environment when shopping, although that can be challenging. I have bamboo flooring instead of exotic wood. I wish I could share a photo of my front yard. Story 51. I spend quality time speaking with the scam callers and keeping them on the line so they don't have time to call your grandmother. I make it sound more enjoyable than it actually is. Story 52. I'm not sure how to explain this, but as someone mentioned here, try not to make it worse. There's enough negativity in the world that I don't want to add to it. I think the biggest thing I do is listen to people. I've been yelled at by many individuals and faced harassment, but I always listened to whoever was expressing negativity. I know it wasn't directed at me. I'm a good person and I do good in my community. I've been a labor rights activist in my community and have helped people with issues in their workplaces. I don't argue with people, so I know there's really no ammunition against me. That being said, when someone is angry or upset, I listen. Yes, there have been times when my feelings got hurt, and plenty of instances where I had to put my foot down to stop someone from being excessively cruel to me or someone else. But 9 times out of 10, by listening to that person, I'm able to figure out what the true issue is. Sometimes the issue is simply that the person doesn't have an emotional outlet, so I offer it to them. Other times, the issue is bigger or something else. I try to help if that's possible. The same goes for people who are sad. Just simply listening to someone brings them an immense amount of joy and relief. And no, I am not a pushover. Far from it, actually. I just understand people and find beauty in their emotions. It's kind of beautiful or artistically tragic how different experiences shape our feelings. So I find beauty in that and always try to act with grace and kindness. I give the benefit of the doubt, and of course, everything I say is within reasonable boundaries. I also used to have a significant victim complex, but then I realized it's not me versus the world. It's me versus myself. Recognizing that everyone is essentially engaged in their own internal struggles brings me a lot of perspective. In short, I practice empathy. I can't tell you how many times people have told me things they've never shared with anyone else. I brought them comfort when they didn't have it. Just listening and responding with kindness is important. We have enough challenges in this world, such as daily stressors, financial problems, and political issues. I try not to add to someone else's burden that they already have to carry due to their humanity. Story 53. I work at a dealership, and when we receive new used cars, they must be inspected. Some of these cars have nearly new filters and wiper blades that we would otherwise discard and replace with brand new ones. To help our customers, I save these components. If the same type of car comes in and the customer cannot afford a new filter or wipers, I install the ones I saved on the car I am currently working on. This saves them from paying $40 to $60 for a filter and $30 for wiper blades. Story 54. I try to spread kindness, even in small ways, because sometimes a smile or a compliment can make someone's day better. Story 55. Not enough. I occasionally take in stray cats and maintain a yard that provides bees and other insects with space to thrive. I donate to charity from time to time and try to recycle, though I am not perfect at it. I have participated in 2 protests in the last 2 months, but I believe there should be more. Does harassing and shaming extremists online, as well as giving them the middle finger whenever I can in real life, contribute to making the world a better place? I'd like to think it does. It seems we are approaching a moment where I, along with my fellow Americans, need to take much more action to prevent our country from becoming a truly terrible place. This turned out to be a rather disheartening question for some reason. Story 56. I have significantly reduced my carbon footprint through solar panels, passive solar heating, reduced driving, biking, recycling, and purchasing locally grown and crafted items. I also practice xeriscaping to conserve water. Additionally, I volunteer to help people and animals, and I primarily follow a vegetarian diet. Story 57. Put the shopping cart back in its actual spot at the supermarket after loading my groceries into my car. Story 58. I strive to raise my children and grandchildren to have a sense of purpose and responsibility, in addition to being critical thinkers. Story 59. I send positive feedback when I have a nice interaction in a store or with customer service. I work in information technology myself, and positivity is rare but appreciated. I always fill out surveys and give a rating of 9 or 10 when I am even vaguely satisfied because service representatives often just convey the message. The last time I provided feedback was in a clothing store where we were looking for a wedding outfit for my sister. The employee was so kind and helpful that I emailed the store. Story 60. I thank people who usually don't get thanked, like the people cleaning the bathroom in the airport. I tip them too. The garbage truck employees, the men and women working at the grocery store I frequent, police officers, teachers, and forest service workers. There are many people who make our lives better but can seem invisible. Story 61. I help seniors with their finances by managing their retirement savings. Sometimes this involves working overtime, delivering checks to the bank, and spending hours challenging institutions to ensure they do not lose any money. I ensure they receive their payments on time and assist them when they experience identity theft or the loss of a family member by processing their estate. I take calls during my time off just to be there for them when they need help. Over the past 15 years, I have had the privilege of building meaningful relationships with these individuals, holding the door open for them, making their coffee, and sending them letters. They have shown a lot of care and attention in my life and have given me valuable wisdom along the way. They witnessed me getting engaged and purchasing my first home. They saw me become a wife and a mother. They still trust me with their business, and every time one of them passes away, I feel as though I lose a friend. Working with seniors has deepened my respect for elders. I do not earn a substantial income, but I find fulfillment in knowing that I am one of the good people in finance, helping those who truly deserve support. Story 62. If I see someone who needs help, I help. For example, I was pulling into a gas station parking spot when a worker was putting up a metal sign, started to fall, and so did he off his ladder. I hadn't fully parked before I was about 4 feet from the guy. He caught himself before I got there but thanked me for trying. I was also walking when a woman tripped on the sidewalk and hit her head. It didn't seem too bad, a bump and a small scrape, but rather than just walk away, I asked if she was okay and if she needed an ambulance or first aid. 2 people passed out on the sidewalk. The first guy was in the hot sun, drunk, and unresponsive. We shaded him and called emergency services. The other guy had apparently been passed out on the sidewalk for hours. I stopped to see if he was okay and got no response. I then took out my phone and called emergency services. People at the bar across the street told me not to disturb him, thinking I was taking pictures or something. I told them I was calling for help, something none of them had done. They also told me the guy had been there since around 6 or 7 p.m., and it was now 12:30 a.m. He hadn't moved. How can people see someone in need and not check if they are okay? Can they live with themselves knowing they might let someone die? I heard about a guy in New York City a long time ago who people just watched die, walking over him while he asked for help. I decided that day I would never be that indifferent. It is better to feel awkward and ensure someone is okay than to risk their life due to a lack of help that is all around. Story 63. I try to help out foster children and those who have aged out of the system by donating items they request. It is a small but amazing organization dedicated to assisting those who have faced more obstacles in life than most of us. You can be assured that your donation is directly helping someone in need. Story 64. I tell the customers at my job dad jokes so they will laugh and forget their worries for a little while. Story 65. Basic kindness includes recycling, saying please and thank you, always tipping 20%, and being mindful to avoid bumping into others. I strive to be flexible in all situations. Story 66. Have a true open mind. I talk to people and hope to change their perspective, while also being willing to change my own. It's pretty relaxed. Story 67. I teach people about gardening, protecting the environment, and saving pollinators as a master gardener. Story 68. Organic gardening involves growing from seeds, resulting in more seedlings than needed, which I give away to others. I also save seeds and contribute them to my local library's seed bank, where they are freely available for anyone interested. Additionally, I preserve my food and teach others how to do it. Story 69. I joined a local volunteer group to plant trees and beautify urban parks. I take trash bags on hikes to pick up litter and share kindness through my public-facing job. I am planting a small garden on my back porch and participating in local events, actively seeking alternatives to large corporations when possible. I struggle with feeling limited in what I can do on a larger scale, but I find that impacting my local community is tangible and helps in small ways. Story 70. Kindness is important. I compliment people regardless of age or gender about any small detail. If someone has fresh nails, I might say, "I love your nails." If they are wearing a scarf, I'll remark, "That scarf looks cozy." If a child is wearing rubber boots, I might say, "How smart you are. Now you can splash in the puddles." I have heard that single men often don't receive compliments, and although I am happily married, I strive to offer sincere compliments when I interact with others. I pick up trash and avoid interrupting people when they are speaking. If someone seems to be having a hard time, I will offer a meal or some assistance. At work, I will bake cookies and casually encounter colleagues before I put them out. I might mention that I did some batch cooking and don't have enough room in my freezer. Would they like some soup? I'll bring a few containers so it's not obvious that I'm favoring one person. While it may not be the grandest of gestures, I simply try to help others in small ways to make their days a little easier or brighter. Story 71. I learn American Sign Language so that if I come across a deaf or hard of hearing person, I can communicate with them. When I was in 8th grade, there was a classroom for deaf and hard of hearing kids at my school with 2 teachers who knew American Sign Language. The teachers came to our class one day and silently taught us the entire American Sign Language alphabet and a few words in just an hour. During the next recess, a deaf kid approached my friend and me, wanting to play volleyball with us. I introduced myself, spelling out each word. The look of happiness on that kid's face inspired me to learn how to communicate more proficiently in American Sign Language. Story 72. Rewilded my garden to attract and feed bees and butterflies. Recycle everything we can. Turn off all devices when not in use. Story 73. I cook inexpensive, delicious vegan food, sometimes for friends who are overwhelmed by their week and would benefit from having a few ready-to-go meals. Other times, I cook as part of a collective team to prepare affordable meals for larger gatherings of around 200 people. Story 74. I compost and recently adopted a vegan lifestyle. I only buy what I need and try to purchase secondhand items whenever possible. I avoid chain stores and major corporations by supporting small, local businesses. I am open and sincere about my lifestyle with those who are curious, and I enjoy sharing knowledge. I strive to be kind. Story 75. I have a personal rule to donate to any GoFundMe I come across, as long as the person genuinely needs help, even if it's only $5. Additionally, I have not consumed animal products for 8 years. Story 76. I create custom clothing and formal wear for individuals with disabilities or chronic conditions to help ensure they look good and feel comfortable anywhere. Story 77. I used to volunteer for hiking trail maintenance when I was younger. When I was with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, I learned about invasive plant species like kudzu, knotweed, and garlic mustard. Now, when I hike or even just go for a walk, I stop and remove the invasive plants before they can take hold and spread. This is just in my little corner of the world, but there are many of us out there. Story 78. Every day I go out into the world, and people frustrate me, yet I allow them to go home to their families. There are many non-orphans because of me. I am going to celebrate that. I also always return my shopping carts and often pick up an extra one along the way. Story 79. I started a mental health charity based on my lived experience with bipolar disorder. I have been to dark places and understand how lonely it can feel. I wanted people to feel seen. After moving to a new country, I found comfort in handwritten letters from my grandparents. So I began writing letters in my spare time and sending them to people in need of kind words. Fast forward to now, we are a registered charity with over 500 volunteers, 75% of whom have similar lived experiences. Not only do these letters make people feel seen, They have literally saved lives, improved mood, and encouraged help-seeking behaviors. My experience has shown me how many kind people want to make the world a better place. Story 80. I bring abandoned shopping carts near my car, not in the designated area, with me when I walk to the grocery store. If I see someone's abandoned cart in the wrong area on my way to return my own, I'll grab it too. I never expect recognition because this seems like the obvious thing for an able-bodied adult to do. However, a man once saw me take a cart a lady left 20 feet from the designated area and push it along with mine to the proper place. He said, "You're a good person," as he passed. I don't know about that, but at least I felt like it was a good deed. Story 81. I practice guerrilla gardening by planting fruit trees along hiking and walking trails so that people have surprise snacks while wandering. Unfortunately, some individuals come with baskets and take the fruit for themselves. I have hidden some of the trees so that if you search, you can still find some. I generally avoid using pesticides and grow berries, fruits, and herbs to reduce my reliance on non-organic produce. I try to buy regional and organic produce whenever possible and aim to live mostly vegetarian, although I sometimes struggle with that. During winter and spring, I hang out food balls for songbirds so that they have enough sustenance to survive the harsh winters. However, I ensure that they are not dependent on it. I invite my friends out for drinks and cover the costs whenever I can. I also help my family whenever possible. I attend political protests for social issues and against fascism and engage in discussions. However, I do not identify as a communist or part of any specific political group. I provide money and food to homeless individuals whenever I can, although my resources are limited. I strive to use as little energy as possible and have decreased my energy consumption by 18% compared to similar households. I only purchase energy plans that use 100% renewable resources. I buy seeds for, nurture, and plant endangered regional wildflowers to support species conservation. I engage with individuals promoting nuclear power, advocating for a transition to renewable energy sources to reduce dependence on profit-oriented private energy companies, and to ensure future generations won't have to deal with the storage of nuclear waste. Story 82. It is just a small part of the world, but I started a non-profit organization to celebrate birthdays for teenagers in foster care. It has turned into so much more than that, and it is my dream come true. Story 83. I own a 10-inch telescope, the largest on my island, and a few times a week, I set it up in public to let people look through it for free at the moon or planets for about 6 hours. It's a lot of fun, and I receive many tips, which, while I'm out there for free, is also nice to have. Story 84. I repair and build computers for free for low-income families. I have been doing this since I was 18 years old. I am now 47. I have built 3 computers so far in 2025. Story 85. I know this one isn't really big, but I hold the door open for people. I saw a video online that suggested small acts of kindness can inspire others to perform their own acts of kindness. However, I am in high school, so this might not apply. Story 86. I have worked in emergency rooms for most of my adult life. Sometimes it involves literally saving lives, although that happens less often than you might think. Sometimes it's just lending a sympathetic ear and a hug. Other times, it's telling people that their tests are negative and they can go home, or informing them that their cancer has worsened. While I am not an oncologist, I would encourage them to seriously consider whether they want to pursue chemotherapy or focus on comfort and time with loved ones. Occasionally, it's pulling pink beads out of a toddler's nose. Other times, it's reassuring a patient struggling with addiction that there are no bugs wiggling out of their skin. That's just the substance talking. There are many days when I feel frustrated with my job, the broken system in which I work, the patients who expect me to resolve chronic issues in 30 minutes, and the specialists I consult who are overworked and stressed out. They often take out their frustrations on me because I bring them new problems rather than solutions. Yet, every shift involves helping those in need, fixing problems, easing pain, offering hope when possible, and providing solace when it is not. These are acts of compassion and community service. Most nights, as I get into my car to drive home, I take a deep breath and know I have helped someone. When I see them 3 months later in the grocery store and they thank me for stitching up their hand, That's a rewarding feeling. Story 87. I used to volunteer for a toy drive organized by my local police department. They would hold a large event where families received bags full of school supplies, and children could enter a spacious room to select toys. There was hot cocoa and a large mound of crushed ice. The event took place at a gun range, although you couldn't tell. They stopped hosting the event after COVID-19, and now the department visits homes with a van filled with toys to choose from. Story 88. I work in dementia care, specifically in end-of-life and hospice settings. I ensure that those who are nearing the end have a positive experience. I do my best to help loved ones create meaningful memories amidst the challenges of death. Story 89. I like to donate my time and labor to the people around me who cannot afford to hire someone to work on their car. One major repair can mean life or death for some individuals. It can make the difference between paying rent or having enough to eat for the month. With half a day of my time, I can help someone avoid using another credit card or selling their car to a dealership in a disadvantageous deal. Having a safe and reliable vehicle is what keeps some of us from homelessness. Additionally, it is better for the environment to keep those cars out of the junkyard. Story 90. I got up at 6:30 a.m. to make homemade banana bread muffins for my mailman. It was a cold, rainy, miserable gray day. He was getting soaked and was so happy to receive unexpected warm, freshly baked muffins and hot coffee. I feel sorry for him out there in all kinds of weather. Story 91. There is something about making others smile that is one of my absolute favorite things. I always try to learn my server's name at a restaurant or the security personnel at a building, and in general, anyone I interact with. The next time I call them, I don't need to wave or say excuse me. It feels more human. The next time I see them, I can greet them like I would any friend. It's a small difference, but it can make someone smile. Every time I go to my regular spot, I know every server's name and about their families, so they know I genuinely care. Story 92. I exist. I believe my smile helps. There were many times I wanted to give up, but I am still a valuable and powerful uplifter. Story 93. I donate blood and plasma, pick up other people's trash, and try not to make people feel uncomfortable. It may not be much, but it is honest work. Story 94. Living in Dublin has its challenges, especially with terrible traffic everywhere. However, I make it a point to give way to 10 people each day. If someone needs to exit a location in their car and traffic continues to flow, I stop to let them out. If a driver is reversing out of their driveway, I pause to allow them to exit safely. If a pedestrian needs to cross the road, I give them a wave and let them pass. I believe this slows things down a little, and most people truly appreciate acts of kindness. If everyone did this, we could navigate the city just as quickly without feeling frustrated. Story 95. Sell toys for really low prices. It's not much, but I remember how much my parents bought for me over the years, and I want to help other parents. Story 96. Smile at strangers. My dad, mom, husband, and I were walking into a boat show, and I was slightly ahead of them. We walked past an older gentleman who was walking alone, and I smiled at him. Nothing crazy, just a friendly smile. After we passed him, my dad said, "Did you just smile at that old man?" I replied yes, and my dad said, "By the smile on his face, you just made his day." Ever since then, I try to remember to smile at people who look like they need one. Story 97. Always treat people kindly. You never know what they are going through. Those who are facing tough times will appreciate it, which balances out those who do not. Story 98. I am kind to animals. I rescue and foster when I can. Sometimes I fail and then they become roommates. If I have cash, I give whatever is in my wallet because I often feel a paycheck away from being on the street. Today, it was $10 to a father learning English and his child, who were asking for money for diapers. I write and edit safety, engineering, and compliance documents for electric and gas utilities so that people can go home safe at the end of the day, and society does not collapse faster than necessary. I help people move. I volunteer for that because everyone needs help, even if they don't feel that anyone else will provide it. When I travel, I sometimes go out at night and give away food I've collected from employee dinner takeout or free fruit, snacks, and soaps from the hotel to homeless individuals. This can be tricky because sometimes foods that require chewing are a problem. One time, I gave to a woman with a cat. I just don't understand how people can walk by without helping. Usually, I am alone when I do this. It's scary, so I try not to stay out very long or walk more than a mile from the hotel. I will drop everything if you need a friend. I am autistic, and I have difficulty with boundaries and probably give more emotionally than people invest in me. Can be lonely, but it's better than giving up on someone. Story 99. I am kind to people, especially the elderly. I am a carpenter but often find myself doing handy work for them, and I rarely charge if at all. Once I realized how little impact I have on the world, I decided to donate blood and platelets as often as I can. It's the least I can do, and regardless of how insignificant I feel, at least when I am dying, I will know I have saved lives. Story 100. I give blood. I mostly do it for the cookies, but I have donated over 6 gallons. I help people, but those cookies are a great motivation. Story 101. I try to see the good in people and assume they mean well. In a society that values individuality, I strive to help others as much as I can. Story 102. I feed the squirrels and birds, ensuring fresh water is available for them. I also provide water daily for dogs on walks. Story 103. Not have kids. Be vegan for 15 years. Drive less. Fly less. Prioritize quality over quantity in relationships. Read a lot now, audio as well. I got off social media except for Reddit and YouTube, but I use YouTube carefully. Stop pleasing others. Make a report even if it doesn't seem important. It starts a record. Refuse to negotiate my political and religious views for companionship. Help homeless people with essentials. Try to apologize or at least journal about how I won't repeat my mistakes if I know the apology is just for my own relief. Opt out of luxury if it means I have to work for corrupt individuals. Be as vulnerable as possible. It is safe. Forgive but never forget. Story 104. Be moral in every thought, word, and deed. If I ever slip, I remind myself to improve and strive for purity and peace. It is a lifelong learning journey. Peace on earth is heaven on earth. Story 105. Give respect. Be respectful to people and the natural world. If everyone did this, it would be a better place. Story 106. Being kind, helping a stranger in need, adopting a vegan lifestyle, joining a political party focused on animal welfare, cleaning up litter in the streets, reducing car usage, and becoming a bus driver to minimize traffic are all positive actions. Additionally, shopping at thrift stores promotes sustainability. Story 107. Be as vegan as possible. Knowing I am not funding the exploitation, suffering, and murder of innocent sentient beings has added a sense of lightness to my conscience ever since I started a few years ago. Story 108. I collect bags and pick up trash on the beach. One person asked me if I was getting paid for it. I said no, I just want to help. Story 109. When I place my groceries on the conveyor belt, I arrange them so the cashier can easily see the barcode. I smile at babies who stare at me. I smile at dogs walking with their owners. I achieved proficiency in English to communicate with people worldwide, which paid off when a distant American cousin reached out to me. My biggest regret is not enrolling in sign language classes when my former university offered them for free as an elective. I will check if my current university offers the same elective. Story 110. I do not eat animals. I donate blood and money to charity. I donated a kidney and sometimes I volunteer. Story 111. I work hard to maintain a respectful attitude. More importantly, I strive to ensure my 5 male children also understand the importance of respectful behavior. Story 112. I defeat interdimensional demons daily with a pair of gloves given to me by the Archangel Michael. Do you believe me? Have you seen any demons around lately? You're welcome. Story 113. I am making my property a haven for native vegetation. I have scattered native seeds in the potholes left behind from removing invasive species from my yard. I have planted some new native trees and I leave the volunteer native vegetation undisturbed. I believe this helps create a pocket of habitat for the native species that need food and shelter. Story 114. I intervene when I think strangers are in distress. If I hear yelling, crying, or shouting, I go check it out. 9 times out of 10, it's nothing, but that one time I make myself useful. Sadly, most people seem perfectly happy to ignore these situations. Story 115. I have customers who arrive at my workplace, sometimes without making a purchase. If I am not too busy, I allow them to express their feelings about their problems without judgment and offer kind words of support. The world can be harsh, but that does not mean people have to feel that way everywhere. Story 116. Not a lot. If I had to pick one thing, I would say that I donate blood every time I am eligible, which is every 2 months. Over a lifetime, that saves many lives. Story 117. Try not to make it worse. Pay for the people behind me in the drive-thru going to work in the morning, on the off chance someone is having a bad morning, or even a good one, and can make it slightly better. Help the elderly woman in the apartment below me bring in her groceries. Story 118. I donate money to charity every month, offer to help people to brighten someone else's day, and usually listen to what various telemarketers are trying to sell me. I also recently participated in a medical scientific research study focused on the treatment of depression and anxiety disorders, purely out of the hope of helping people receive better treatment than I did in the future. Story 119. I help people with directions when they are lost, and I reach items that are too high for the elderly in supermarkets. Essentially, I ask myself, does this person look like they need help? If so, I will go check. Story 120. Support people in my community anonymously. I do not want my neighbors to ever feel like they owe me directly. I would rather say from a neighbor, so they know their community is here for them. Story 121. I am trying to minimize my carbon footprint, so I avoid flying and limit my meat and dairy consumption. I cycle to work and am making my house energy neutral by insulating it, installing solar panels, and adding a heat pump. I am a member of a Rotary Club focused on sustainability and circularity. We assist others in achieving similar goals for their homes. Additionally, we manage a food forest that is accessible to everyone. Story 122. Honestly, kindness is important. Be nice, smile at people, and offer compliments. Give someone a smile or a compliment or even a candy bar. Story 123. I believe in choosing life over the desire to end it. I am struggling, and every day is challenging for me. Despite everything, I just want to be happy so I can help others. Story 124. I collaborate with a nonprofit to teach classes on growing food and sustainable living. I am also pursuing a career in the mental health field. Story 125. I teach 6th grade. I go beyond just teaching the curriculum. I teach children to be good, hardworking individuals. I am also male, which makes me one of the few male role models these boys have. Story 126. Nothing special or grand, but I do my part by being kind and making it my mission to help people smile and feel good, even if just for a moment. Story 127. Using my temporary phone for obvious reasons. I am being deployed as a military observer for various peacekeeping missions. Story 128. I have patience with my children while establishing firm rules about how to treat others so they do not become narcissistic individuals. Story 129. I help people pay their bills when they really need assistance. I want anyone with ambition, determination, and discipline to achieve a college education to have that opportunity. Many individuals can qualify for scholarships, but sometimes it is the small details that need attention. I cannot afford much, but I assist where I can. Story 130. I make it my mission to keep life as fun as possible for everyone. I like to play rock, paper, scissors with people next to me at traffic lights. Back in high school, I made friends with and supported many of the ostracized kids, even though I had my main friend groups. Making sure someone knows you are there for them is the best thing you can do. Story 131. I don't cheat, and I try to never lie. I've planted approximately 100 trees so far and plan to plant many more. I work in the renewable energy sector, providing loans to individuals whom banks won't assist, but who deserve support. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.